So yes, I forgot to record to start the recording of the class. So we have not discussed much, just summarizing or discussing something from the previous class. So association with a great devotee of Krishna is the cause of bhakti, cause of faith in Krishna, cause of faith in hearing his the descriptions of his activities. So. Uh, Bhakti yoge katha shraddhalureva adhikari. To engage in devotional practices towards Krishna, the person who possesses faith in the katha of Krishna, who possesses faith in the descriptions of Krishna's activities, that person only is the qualified person to engage in devotion unto him. So then other acts of devotion proceed after you have faith in Krishna Katha. We have discussed this in the previous class. So then Vishwanath Chakravarti continues to explain his analysis, continues to analyze the verse 1128. Na nirvinna nati saktah. This is the part he will now comment on. A person who has faith in Krishna's katha and he is not disgusted with the material world and he is not very much attached to the material world. Such a person, when he engages in devotional practices towards Krishna, his bhakti yoga becomes the bestower of perfection. So he says here, Nati Saktah. What do you mean not very much attached? Deha, Geha, Kalatradishu, Atyasakti Rahita. Devoid of extreme attachment to one's own body, to one's own home, to one's own wife or spouse, to one's own children and other relatives and other things related to oneself. Not having too much attachment for these things. Not too much attached to one's body, not too much attached to one's house, to one's wife, to one's family and other relations. Okay, that's what it means. And ata eva na nirvinna. You have to supply the word na here. The editor has missed that. There is a typing mistake. You can check it here in the Srimad Bhagavata commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti. Atra na nirvinna iti. Na nirvinna. Ata eva na nirvinna iti. Because the verse itself has the word na nirvinna, not disgusted. What does it mean? Teshu nirvinnatve jnanadhikara. What will happen? So the idea here is that a person who has faith in Krishna Katha, he is not disgusted with the world, he is not also too much attached with the world. When he engages in devotion to Krishna, his devotion gives him all perfection. So what do you mean not disgusted with the world? Because if a person becomes disgusted with the world, disgusted with one's own body, disgusted with one's home, one's wife, one's children, and other such relatives, if you become disgusted with the things of the world, then you will be qualified for jnana marga, jnane adhikara. You will be qualified to follow the cultivation of knowledge that the Jivatma is one with Paramatma. Okay? That will be your path if you have such a disgust for this world and things of this. You are fed up with this world. If you are so, then you are suited more for the Jnana Marga. So, atyasaktatve karmani adhikara. if you should not be disgusted with this. Okay? And you should also not be too much attached to this world, too much attached to the body, the home, and the wife, and everything we discussed. You should not have that. Because if you are too much attached to the body and the home and the wife and everything, you will have qualification for karma marga. Atyasaktatve karmanyadhikara. Karma marga means doing the Vaidika activities like this yajna and this sacrifice, various varna, dharma, okay, duties of a brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras, and so forth. Brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. You will be eligible to follow that path of varnashrama if you are too much attached to the world. Because the Vedic activities are basically aimed to fulfill our material desires. Okay. How to attain punya, pious credit, how to attain artha, material wealth, how to attain, fulfill one's material desires, kama, dharma, artha, kama. These three purusharthas are attained through karma marga. So if you are too much attached to the world, you are more suited for karma marga. Okay, so you should not be having these things. Atyasaktirahitye bhaktavadhikar iti adhikaratraya vivekah. So what happens if you do not have too much attachment to the world? So then you will be qualified for bhakti. You will be more suited for engaging in devotion to Bhagavan Shri Vishnu. Iti adhikaratraya vivekah. This is the difference between the three qualifications required for the three paths. The qualification for bhakti, qualification for jnana marga, knowledge, where you cultivate knowledge of oneness between Jivatma and Paramatma. For that, you need to be fed up with the world and its things. For engaging on the karma marga, you need to be very much attached to this world. Then only you can engage in that. And for engaging in devotion to Krishna, you should not be too much attached to this world, which means that you should also not be disgusted with the world. So that will make you eligible for engaging in Krishna Bhakti. Okay. So Vishwanath Chakravarti clarifies further. Nirvedasya karanam nishkama karma. Nirvedasya karanam nishkama karma hetukantah karana shuddhireva. So what is the cause of being disgusted from the things of this world? What makes you so? The reason one becomes disgusted from the things of this world is his heart has become purified because of his engagement in nishkama karma, doing the various Vedika actions without any desire to attain the results of those actions. Working in this world according to your varna and ashrama in a detached manner. Detached means you do not think yourself to be the doer of those actions. You do not think yourself to be the cause of the effects of your actions. And also you do not aspire to enjoy the results of those actions which you did. Such action clears one's mind. It purifies one's mind of various tendencies like greed and anger and lust and all these things. So when one's mind is purified, you understand that I am not this body and I am different from this world. I am totally separate. So you focus more on the difference between you, the Jivatma, and the things of this world and the things related with your body. And that becomes your central focus. How you, the Jivatma, is not this world and how you are constituted of consciousness. And because that will be your focus, you will identify yourself with the all-pervasive consciousness that is Parabrahman, Bhagavan, Paramatma. And that will be your main interest to pursue in your life. So, thus, your disgust for the world springs from the purity of your heart, which is affected by your practice of Nishkama Karma. And after Nishkama Karma, when the heart is purified, one gains the adhikara, the qualification for Jnana Marga, cultivating knowledge of oneness between Jivatma and Paramatma. Okay? Atyasakti Kara. Then what he speaks about the Karma Marga. The qualification for Karma Marga is too much attachment to the things of the world. What is the cause of too much attachment to the things of the world? The cause is Atyasakti Karanam Anadya Vidya Eva. Ignorance of one's real nature as the pure Jivatma. This ignorance is beginningless. It is existing since beginningless time. Okay? There was actually no beginning, literally no beginning, when we had this ignorance of ourselves, okay? Ignorance about ourselves. So because we are ignorant of ourselves, we are identifying ourselves with the body and the things related with the body. And therefore, we become too much attached to the things of the world. So now that is the cause of having the eligibility. What is the eligibility for engaging in karma marga is too much attachment. And the reason for too much attachment to the world is ignorance since beginningless time. Then he says about bhakti. The eligibility for bhakti is being devoid of too much attachment to the world. Then what is the reason for being devoid of too much attachment to the things of the world? The cause for that is yadrichika mahat sangha eva, is the chance association with a great devotee of Sri Krishna. So when you get that association of a great devotee of Krishna by chance, through the power of his association, you develop slight detachment from the things of this world. You don't develop too much detachment from this world. You develop a little detachment from this world. And thus, you do not have too much attachment to the world. Okay, so that is the eligibility for Krishna Bhakti. Mahat Sangha Evati Tatra Tatra Karanam Drishyam. So these are the respective causes for the eligibilities of Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, and Bhakti Marga. The cause for eligibility in Jnana Marga is clarification, purification of one's heart, caused by one's engagement in Nishkama Karma. The cause for the eligibility for Karma Marga is beginningless ignorance of oneself. And the cause for eligibility for bhakti is association of a great devotee, which happens by chance. When you associate with a great devotee, you develop, or I should say, when you associate with a great devotee, your attachment to this world reduces a little. It comes down. So now you will not be too much attached to the world. So if you are not too much attached to the world, it implies that you are also not totally fed up with the world, because you have a little attachment to the world still. And because you have a little attachment to the things of this world and you are not fed up with the world, you are eligible to engage in Krishna Bhakti. Okay. So, now let me just explain. Like somebody may have a question. Like, okay, let me open for questions. Does someone have any questions here? Any doubts? Any clarification required? Okay. So, someone might have a question that you say that if you do not have too much attachment for the world, you are qualified to engage in bhakti. Then we hear from the Shastras that attachment to the world is bad. Whether too much attachment or little attachment, attachment is attachment, it is bad. So, why is that a favorable thing to engage in Krishna Bhakti? Why does it help your engagement in Krishna Bhakti? How do you become qualified to engage in Bhakti because of that? Okay. So, that is because it is the middle situation. If you are totally detached from the world, your focus will be yourself and that you are different from the world. You will be inclined to cultivate knowledge of oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. And if you are too much attached to the world, you will be inclined to fulfill your material desires. But if you are somewhere in between, not too much attached to the world and not completely disgusted from the world also, your focus will not be this or that. Your focus will not be to reject the world and separate yourself from the world. Your focus will also not be to engage yourself in the world and fulfill all your material desires which you have. Your focus now can be something different. Okay? And that different is Vishnu. Service to Vishnu, devotion to Vishnu. Okay? So, too much attachment to the world is the focus. You will be inclined to fulfill your desires of the world. Too much detachment from the world is still the focus. You want to separate yourself from the world as much as possible and as soon as possible. That is your focus. Neither too much attachment nor too much detachment makes you situated in a frame of mind which is not having fulfilling the desires as its primary aim and not having detachment from the world as its primary aim. The world is not your center of consciousness. That center now can be occupied by Bhagavan Vishnu. There is room for him there. And because there is room for him there, you are more suited to engage in his devotion. Okay? That is the thing. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti will clarify ahead. Okay? Kincha, etadutkrishtaadhikarina evala. Furthermore, this is the characteristic of a superior person qualified for devotion to Vishnu. Utkrishtaadhikari. A person who has faith in Krishna Katha and is not fed up with the world and not too much attached with the world is eligible for Krishna Bhakti. So this is the symptom of a very high standard of eligibility for Krishna Bhakti. A person who is highly eligible, supremely eligible for engaging in Krishna Bhakti. Okay. However, Kintu, in the Srimad Bhagavata 11.2.2, it is said, Konu Rajan Nindriyavan Mukunda Charanam Bujam Na Bhajeta Sarvato Mrityu Ityukte Yadritchika Bhakta Sange Sati Indriyavaneva Bhaktavadhikari Cheyah. A general characteristic of a person eligible to engage in devotion to Krishna is, this verse indicates that eligibility. 11:2. को नु राजन् इन्द्रियवान् मुकुन्द चरणाम्बुजं न भजेत सर्वतो मृत्युरूपे उपास्यम् अमरोत्तमैः. O king, who is the person having senses like indriyas, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, hands, legs, speech? A person who has such indriyas, who is such a person having indriyas who would not engage in devotional services to Vishnu, who is even worshipped by the best of gods? So here Vishwanath Chakravarti says, यादृच्छिक भक्त संगे सति इंद्रियवान एव भक्तावधिकारी. A person who has attained chance association of a great devotee of Krishna, and he has senses, he has a body. A person having a body, having senses, and on his attaining association of a great devotee of Krishna, becomes eligible to engage in bhakti. So in short, the chance association, yadrichika bhakta sangha, association of a great devotee by chance, is the very reason, is the only reason, is the only cause of a person being qualified, eligible to engage in devotion to Krishna. Okay. The verse which we discussed, 11:28, na nirvinno nati sakto, not too much attached to the world and not disgusted from the world. These are additional qualifications. If one has these additional qualifications, then one's practice of bhakti becomes much more effective, much more smoother also. Otherwise, just having the chance association of a great devotee of Krishna qualifies you for engaging in devotion to Krishna. But if you have these additional qualifications also, because of his association, you have these additional qualifications also, then you become much more eligible to engage in pure devotion to Krishna. Your bhakti to Krishna will be much more effective. Because what will happen if you engage in devotion to Krishna according to the instructions of that great devotee, but you are still too much attached to the world? You are eligible because you have the association of great devotee of Krishna. You are eligible to engage in Krishna bhakti. But because you are too much attached to the things of the world, that attachment will create obstacles in your devotional engagement to Krishna. Okay? You will not be able to devote yourself to Krishna in a very wholehearted way. And on the contrary, if you have if you are too much fed up with the things of this world, if you are disgusted with the world and you have understood that the jiva is not anything of this world and you want to separate yourself from the world, then your desire to separate yourself from the world, in other words, your desire to attain freedom from the world, in other words, your desire to attain liberation from the world, will occupy your mind much more. And your engagement in pure devotion to Krishna for devotion's sake, just for satisfying Krishna, will not be very strong. Your engagement in pure devotion to Krishna will not be strong, will not be proper if you are having this desire to get rid of yourself from this world. Like you want to just get out of this world. If that is there, then your engagement in devotion to Krishna will not be very effective, in the sense that you will not be able to engage in pure bhakti to Krishna. Bhakti for bhakti's sake, will not really happen. You will be more inclined to understand the Jivatma, yourself. I want to understand myself. Why am I engaging in Krishna Bhakti? Because self-realization. I want self-realization. I want to realize myself. That is because you have too much focus on yourself and you want to detach the pure Jivatma from the world. You want to liberate yourself from the world. That is your focus. That's why you're engaging in Bhakti. That is not the real purpose of Bhakti. The real purpose of Bhakti is nothing. Just Bhakti. Nothing else. You are engaging in Bhakti for just Bhakti. So, that is the thing. You can engage in devotion to Krishna in any condition. You should just have a body, senses. You associate with great devotees, you are engage in Bhakti. That's all that is required. And it is better if you have these additional qualification also, that not too much attachment to the world, which means that you are not disgusted from the world also. Okay. I hope it clarifies. Any questions? Someone has any doubts? All right. So let us continue. Rupa Goswami says next. Uttamo madhyamascha syat kanishthascheti satridha. The person eligible to engage in Krishna Bhakti is of three kinds. Uttama, Madhyamah, Kanishtha. Uttama means the best person who is eligible to engage in Krishna Bhakti. Madhyama means the intermediate person. And Kanishtha means lowest person. So there, Rupa Goswami defines who is Uttama, the best person qualified to take up engagement in Krishna Bhakti. He says, Shastre yuktau cha nipunah sarvatha dridhanishchayah praudhah shraddhodhikariyah sabhakta uttamo matah. One who is an expert in Shastra and reasoning, and sarvatha dridhanishchaya, he is firmly fixed. His determination is very firm in all respects. Okay. In all respects of bhakti, his determination is fixed. Very strong determination. And praudha shraddha. Such a person who is praudha shraddha, whose shraddha is advanced, is mature, whose faith in Krishna is mature, is grown. His faith has grown up. It has become very strong. It has become mature. He is adhikari uttam. Uttamah adhikari. He is the best eligible candidate for taking up practice of Krishna Bhakti. Let's see the commentaries. Jiva Goswami says, Purvam shastrasya shasanena eva pravrittihi ityuktatvat शास्त्रार्थ विश्वास एव आदि कारणम लब्धम अतः श्रद्धा शब्दः तत्र प्रयुक्तः तस्मात् शास्त्रार्थ विश्वास एव श्रद्धा इति लब्धे श्रद्धा तारतम्येन श्रद्धावतां तारतम्यमाह शास्त्र इति द्वाभ्याम्. Earlier in this very chapter, Rupa Goswami has said the definition of Vedhi Bhakti. When one's engagement in activities of Bhakti proceeds because of the instructions of Shastra alone, if the instructions of the Shastra is the only reason why one engages in Krishna Bhakti, then one's Krishna Bhakti is called Vaidhi Bhakti. So because that was mentioned earlier, Shastrartha Vishwasah eva adi karanam labdham. The original reason for one's practice of Krishna Bhakti is Shastrartha Vishwas, trusting the artha, trusting the meaning of the scriptures. Having faith in what the scriptures say. That is the original reason of one's engagement in Krishna Bhakti. So, therefore, ataha, the word Shraddha Shabdas Tatra Prayukta. Therefore, the word Shraddha is used with regard to one's faith in Shastras. So, Jiva Goswami explains here, why is Rupa Goswami bringing up the topic of faith in Shastra? Because here the topic is faith in Bhakti. The eligibility in Bhakti is faith in Bhakti, faith in Krishna. Why does he bring the topic of faith in Shastras? Because faith in the Shastras is the very first reason why one engages in Krishna Bhakti. Okay, that's what he had explained earlier regarding Vaidhi Bhakti. So, faith in the Shastra is the first reason of one's engagement in Bhakti. Therefore, the word Shraddha in Bhakti is connected with Shraddha in the Shastras. Okay? Shraddha in Bhakti is connected with Shraddha in Shastras. If one's Shraddha in the Shastras is very strong, it means that one is totally convinced about one's engagement in Krishna Bhakti, which proceeds from the instructions of Shastras. If you are totally convinced that what the Shastras are saying is true, therefore, and that's why you follow the instruction of the Shastra to engage in Krishna Bhakti, that means that your faith in Bhakti is very strong, because your faith in Bhakti is nothing but your faith in the Shastra. Because the Shastras say that you should engage in Krishna Bhakti, you engage in Krishna Bhakti. So, faith in Bhakti, faith in Shastra is the same thing here. Okay? So, Shraddha Shabda Tatra Prayukta. Tasmat Shastrartha Vishwasa Eva Shraddha. Therefore, Shraddha is nothing but having faith in the Shastras, in what the Shastras say, in the meaning of the Shastras. Okay? So, on having understood so much, Shraddha Taratamya, Shraddhavatam Taratamya. Now, Rupa Goswami classifies the people who have faith according to the amount of faith, according to the strength of faith in the Shastras. Okay? Faith in Bhakti is equal to faith in the Shastras. So now, depending on how much faith you have in the Shastras, your eligibility in Bhakti is corresponding to that. Okay? If you have a strong faith in the Shastras, your faith in Bhakti is of course very strong, and therefore you are highly eligible to engage in Bhakti. If your faith in Shastras is weak, you are very your eligibility to engage in Bhakti is very low in comparison to the one who has very strong faith in Shastra. Okay? So that is the gradation that Rupa Goswami is going to describe now. Does anyone have a question or a doubt?
You said faith in Shastras is directly proportional to the amount of bhakti that you have.
Faith in
but
bhakti we have.
the faith in bhakti.
Ah.
But if there is a lot of faith in the Shastras, then don't you get lost in the procedures and the processes that the Shastras have laid out that you have to follow? So you forget about bhakti, you forget about Bhagwan, forget about everything else. You're just
Can you give some
performing what?
examples, Srinivasan?
Sorry?
Some disturbances in Zoom, perhaps. Yes, Srinivasanji, I was telling, can you give some example about that?
So if you are if you have faith in the Shastras, then you can get lost in the procedures
Which
and the
procedures?
processes, like the yajnas, because the Shastra says you can perform certain yajnas, and you start performing those yajnas. You get lost in those yajnas,
Yeah. So
and you
what
forget about bhakti.
the Shastras that is intended here, it means Bhakti Shastra only.
Bhakti Shastras.
Yeah. So let me clarify. The Shastras pertaining to Vishnu Bhakti only are intended here by the word Shastra.
Okay. That clarifies it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else has a question? Okay. So let's continue. So in these two verses, Rupa Goswami is giving the gradations of the eligible people for bhakti according to the gradations of the faith they have, faith in Shastra. So first, Uttama Adhikari, the person who is the best eligible candidate for bhakti. Shastre yuktau cha nipuna. So, nipuna means praveena, expert. Expert in Shastra means Bhakti Shastras, and expert in reasoning. And Sarvatha Dridhanishchaya. Sarvatha iti tattva vicharena sadhana vicare cha dridhanishchaya ityartha. Sarvatha means in all ways. In all ways means in two ways. In the understanding, in the analysis of tattva, of the various entities described in the Shastras. What is the absolute tattva? There is only one Advaya tattva, that is Sri Krishna, Parabrahman. And sadhana vicare. And in the analysis of sadhana, how to attain that tattva. What is the means of attaining him? So he is firmly convinced about tattva, what is the supreme reality, and he is firmly convinced of the means to attain that supreme reality. Okay. So in terms of both these analysis, tattva vichara and sadhana vichara, contemplation or analysis of the truth and analysis of the means of attaining that truth, he is firmly convinced. Okay. That is the meaning of the first half of the shloka. Yukti. So it is also said he is an expert in Shastra and in reasoning. Shastre yuktau cha. Yuktau. Yuktischa atra shastranugata. Yukti, it means reasoning. But here, reasoning implies shastranugata yukti. The reasoning that is according to the Shastras, according to the Bhakti Shastras. That reasoning. It is not reasoning detached from the Shastras. It is reasoning about the Shastras. Having faith in the Shastras, when you reason about the Shastras, analyze the Shastras, then you develop much more faith in the Shastras. So, Shastranugata eva jnaya. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu first chapter, in the earlier chapter, last verse, we have seen this. Yuktistu kevala naiva. Logic for its own sake. Kevala yukti. Logic that is isolated from the Shastra, from the Bhakti Shastra, is not what is desirable. Okay? Yukte swatantriya nishedhat. One's logical analysis should never be independent of the Shastra. It should always be dependent on the Shastric understanding. When you logically analyze the things stated in the Shastras, having faith in the Shastra, that is what is desirable. That is very much desirable. Okay? But logical analysis disconnected from the Shastric analysis, that will not take us anywhere. Okay? We will be caught up in our mental analysis only, and mental analysis can never give you the transcendent reality, because transcendence is beyond one's mind. So for knowing things that are beyond the grasp of one's mind, one has to depend on the higher sources, which are the Shastras. And one has to then analyze the Shastras with proper faith, proper guidance. That is what is desirable. Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvad Nyayat. Also in the Brahma Sutras, it is said that Shrutestu Shabda Moolatvad. Shruti, the Vedic Shastras, Upanishads, they are all rooted in Shabda. They are revelation. So they are not to be analyzed independently of faith in them, of what they say. Also, according to the Vaishnava Tantra, he says, Purva Paranurodhena Onvartho Bhimato Bhaved Ityadyam Mohanam Tarka Shushka Tarkam tu Varjayet. This is from a Vaishnava Tantra scripture. So, how should you analyze the Shastra? That method is also stated. Purva Apara Anurodhena. You should take into consideration what came before this particular statement in the Shastra, and what are the other statements found in that Shastra, and analyzing them together in reference to each other. What meaning do we understand? This kind of speculation, this kind of analysis is called tarka, is called yukti. Okay? It's called Shastra Yukti, and this is desirable. However, Shushka Tarkam tu Varjayet. One should avoid dry logical argumentation. Dry logic means that which is not interested in bringing the Shastric statements to their conclusion. He just wants to argue independently of the Shastric statements according to his own mind frame. So that is called Shushka Tarka, dry logic. And that is very much dangerous. That is very dangerous to one's cultivation of devotion to Krishna. Okay, so that should be avoided at all costs. So, Evam Bhuta, such a person, Yaf Prauda Shraddha, such a person whose faith is very strong in the Shastras, and it implies in Bhakti also. Sa eva uttamah adhikari ityarth. He is the best candidate for Bhakti. That is the meaning of this verse. Does anyone have a doubt, any questions? Then Shri Rupa Goswami gives the definition of the Madhyama Adhikari, the intermediate candidate for engaging in Krishna Bhakti. Yash Shastradištva Nipunah Shraddhavan Satu Madhyamah. The person who is not an expert in Shastra and Yukti, Adi means Yukti, the person who is not an expert in the Bhakti Shastras and in logically analyzing them, but he has faith. He has faith in the Shastras. He knows that what the Shastras are saying is true, is correct, and that will help us attain Krishna Bhakti and his prema. But he cannot support his understanding that Krishna is the supreme, that Bhakti to Krishna is the supreme, very expertly from the Shastras. Okay. He is not an expert in giving Shastric reasoning for his faith. He has faith nevertheless, but he is not, and he has a lot of Shastric knowledge also. He has a lot of Shastric knowledge, but he is not a full expert. He is not an expert in the Shastras. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of Shastric reasoning ability also, but he is not fully an expert in that. So therefore he is called intermediate Madhyama Adhikari. So let's see commentary. First we'll see by Jiva Goswami, then we'll go to Vishwanath Chakravarti for all these verses. Yeah. Anipuna, this is where it starts. Shastradishu Anipunah. He is not an expert in the Shastras and in logical reasoning based on the Shastras. It means that Nipuna Sadrasha, he is similar to an expert. He is similar to an expert. Anipuna. This na in Sanskrit language, when you add na to a noun, it changes its meaning to a negation. But that negation has 6 different meanings. So if you say let's take this only. Anipuna. Anipuna means non-expert. He is a non-expert. Non-expert can mean he does not know anything about the Shastras. Non-expert can also mean he knows something, but he is not an expert in the Shastras. Non-expert can also mean he knows many things of the Shastras, but he is not an expert in the Shastras. Okay. So such meanings are there of this non, of this negation when you add to a noun. So here, the word anipuna does not mean that he does not know anything of the Shastras. It means that he knows many things of the Shastras and he has a lot of ability to reason about the Shastras also. But he is not an expert. It means that he is somewhat similar to an expert. Nipuna Sadrisha. Sadrisha here means somewhat similar. He is not an expert, yes, but he's not that bad also. He is not that bad. So Nipuna Sadrisha. Okay. Anyone has a doubt here? Any question? Okay. So now what does it mean that he is somewhat like an expert, somewhat of an expert? It means that बलवद् बाधे दत्ते सति समाधातुम् असमर्थः इत्यर्थः तथापि श्रद्धावान् मनसि दृढनिश्चय एव इत्यर्थः. So he knows many things of the Shastras, but He is not an expert means he is somewhat like an expert. It implies that when a very strong opposition is presented in front of this person, he will not be able to resolve that opposition. He will not be able to refute that opposition and establish his point of the supremacy of Krishna or the supremacy of Krishna Bhakti. Samadhatum asamartha ityartha. When will he not be able to establish that? When a very powerful shastric opposition is presented in front of him. He may not be able to refute that. That is why he is said to be not an expert in Shastras, not an expert in reasoning based on the Shastras, but still, because he has a lot of Shastric knowledge, he has a lot of reasoning ability, he is not that bad. He is somewhat like an expert. Still, although he is not able to refute that powerful opposition presented to him, still he does not lose his faith in Krishna Bhakti. He does not lose his faith in the Shastras. He cannot defend his position from the Shastras in the face of that opposition, but he never loses his faith. His faith is never shaken. That's what it means. His faith is never shaken. His faith in Shastras is never shaken. His faith in Bhakti and Krishna is never shaken. Okay? Manasi dhrida nischaya eva. In his mind, he is firmly convinced. Nothing can shake him from his conviction in the Shastras, in Bhakti, and in Krishna. But he does not have the ability to refute a powerful opposition. That is his problem. But in his mind, he is convinced. So he knows that I need to study more Shastra. I need to develop more expertise in the Shastra. He knows that. He knows his shortcomings. Okay. That's why he is called an intermediate candidate who is eligible for Krishna Bhakti. Any questions here? Any doubts? So next we can go to the 19th verse. Tatra Kanishtha. Now the description, the definition of a person who has the lowest eligibility to engage in Krishna Bhakti. He is called Kanishtha Adhikari. The lowest person eligible to engage in Krishna Bhakti. Yo bhavet komala shraddha sakanishto nigadyate. The person whose faith is delicate is called Kanishtha, Adhikari. So Jiva Goswami explains, Yo bhavet ityatra shastradishva nipuna ityanuvartaniyam shraddha matrasya shastrartha vishwasa rupatvat tatascha atra anipuna iti yat kinchin nipuna ityartha komala shraddha shastra yuktantarena bhetum shakya. So in this verse, you have to carry forward this word from the previous half of the verse. Actually, this is not two verses. These are two halves of the same one verse, one and the same verse. So the first half describes the Madhyama Adhikari. Second half describes Kanishtha Adhikari. So Shastradishu Nipuna should be understood in relation with the Kanishtha Adhikari also, because here Rupa Goswami says, Komala Shraddha, his faith is soft, it is delicate. It means it is not strong, it is not firm. If the faith is discussed here, faith means what? Shastrartha Vishwas. Belief in the meaning of the Shastras, belief in what the Shastras say, that is faith. If the faith is brought up here, you have to understand it in relation with the Shastras. So therefore, this word about the Shastras should be also connected here. Shastradishu anipuna, one who is a non-expert in Shastras and in Shastric reasoning. His faith is weak, and he whose faith is weak is called Kanishta, lowest candidate for Krishna Bhakti. So what does it mean in this context? Tadascha atra anipuna. So here, the word non-expert in the Shastras and Shastric reasoning has a different meaning, because the negation carries different meanings, as I explained earlier. For Madhyama Adhikari, non-expert means he knows a lot of Shastras, but he is not an expert. For Kanishta Adhikari, anipuna means he yat kinchit nipuna. He is yat kinchit means somewhat expert. He knows a little bit of Shastras and he can analyze the Shastras in a small way. So he is a little bit of an expert. It means he studies Shastras, he can think about the Shastras, but he has limited ability. He does not know so much Shastra and does not have so much ability to reason about them, does not have so much expertise. So that is the meaning of the word non-expert here. It means he knows a little Shastras, has a little ability to reason about them. Thus, he is not an expert. This is different from Madhyamadhikari, who knows a lot of Shastras and does a lot of reasoning, but he is not able to refute some strong argument that is presented to him. For Kanishta Adhikari, he knows a little bit Shastras, has a little bit of ability to reason, but his faith in Bhakti, Komala Shraddha, his conviction in the Shastras, in Bhakti and in Krishna can be broken by another reasoning of the Shastras. If someone presents a reasoning based on the Shastras in opposition, okay, if someone says based on the Shastras, he says that Krishna is not God, that Bhakti to Krishna is not the supreme path, that no, this Srimad Bhagavat and all these Bhakti Shastras are not really that great, the great Shastras are other Shastras. Then by such logical arguments based on some Shastras, his faith in Bhakti to Krishna, his faith in Krishna himself can be destroyed, can be finished off. He can lose faith in Krishna, he can lose faith in Bhakti to Krishna, he can lose faith in the Shastras that describe Bhakti to Krishna. Okay? So that is the definition of Kanishta Adhikari, the person having the lowest eligibility to engage in Krishna Bhakti. Okay. Any questions, any doubts? So, this is also the answer to the question, why do some people, after taking up the practice of Krishna Bhakti, lose their faith in Krishna, give up the practice of Bhakti and say that this is a hoax, this does not work anymore, this never worked, this is an imagination of some people. Why does that happen? That is because they never had firm faith in Krishna. They had some faith in Krishna, that's why they were engaging in his Bhakti. But their faith in Bhakti was very weak. It was very weak, and that's why it was broken. It was uprooted by some other people who presented some arguments in opposition to that faith. Okay. Does anyone have a question or doubt here? All right. So there is a Independence Day parade practice going on here. You may have some background noise because of that.
No worries, Parasi. Thank you very much. The one comment that I have is most of the intellectuals today who are Hindus, but they don't practice Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, Krishna Bhakti. To me, Sanatana Dharma and Krishna Bhakti are synonymous. Other people have different definitions. But these people don't practice anything at all because they are looking for scientific proof. And modern Western education doesn't talk about scientific proof. It doesn't provide, it hasn't gone far enough. Science has not advanced far enough to prove these things. So my question to them is really simple. If you want to conduct an experiment on gravity, for instance, can you create a solar system with the 9 planets? Where is the room? Where is the space? Where is the energy? Right?
Yeah,
We just
understand your point.
Yeah, we just assume gravity exists because Newton threw an apple in the air and the apple fell down. So we know that there is gravity. But since if you're assuming it on faith, why can't you assume Krishna Bhakti on faith?
No, that does not happen, Srinivas. You cannot convince people just to have blind faith in Bhakti. Faith in Bhakti only happens when you have association with devotee of Krishna, and in due course of time your heart is influenced by his association, his blessings you have. Then only you can have faith. Otherwise, you cannot convince anyone by such arguments, because Bhakti, even the topics of Paramatma and all these things, they are not subject to worldly logic. Worldly proof won't work. You need to have, the only thing you need to have is faith in the Shastras. If you have that, then you can tread the path of Bhakti, not otherwise. And faith in Shastra you cannot have through intellectual conviction. Through argumentation, you cannot, you can defeat someone in arguments, but you cannot make them have faith in Shastras. That does not happen like that. So only
So what do you do? I mean, you walk away from those discussions?
Don't discuss such things with them.
Don't discuss it.
Ignore
Yeah,
such.
well, okay.
That is the advice given by our acharyas, that you should develop friendship with those who have faith in Krishna like you have. You should serve those who are much more advanced on the path of bhakti than you. And you should ignore those who are not concerned with the path of bhakti and who speak against it. You just ignore them. Just stay away from them. Yeah. That is the advice given for those who are madhyama adhikaris. Most of the people who are practitioners, after some time they attain this stage of madhyama adhikari. You study a lot of shastras under guidance and you have the ability to analyze them also. But you can't refute very strong arguments. You still have strong faith. Your faith is never shaken. So that is the advice given for those. You avoid such people who are not interested in bhakti or are envious of devotees or spiritual people. Avoid them. Yeah. Then you will be protected from them. If our faith is weak, then we should also stay away from such people. And we should take care of that tender faith like a plant, nourish it properly, give it a proper environment. And then when it becomes very big, it grows like a tree, then it does not care for anything. Your faith will not be disturbed by these things.
Sounds good, Parasi.
Yeah. So thank you so much for participating today. Your interesting questions. And we'll continue on the next week, Wednesday. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.